All right, so when we come to load a logo on the machine, we want to make sure our dots are down below. Slide this on. And then we got to make sure it locks into place in both spots here. And then what we would want to do, if we had a full item here, we want to make sure that there's no fabric hanging down below so it doesn't get caught. So what we do is just run our finger along the hoop to make sure there's no fabric caught or no part of the item caught. And when we run it, it doesn't stitch it together. I'm going to show you how to load a hat hoop onto the machine. So first we've got to make sure that our hat hoop is attached here. And then what we're going to do is after we've got a hoop, we've got a little notch right here. And we're going to slide this notch in right here. And then we want to make sure that it catches on both sides. And so what you're going to hear is a little click where these things attach. So we're going to come in. Now on this machine, because it's lower, you can't just go underneath it. There's not enough space. Whereas on the forehead you could, but on this machine we go in it sideways and then I turn it. And then I'm going to lean the top forward for it to catch the inside that we just talked about. And then I'm going to grab the back behind here and the front of the hoop, because if I just push this way, I can push the whole machine back and it can push the whole arm and it could create a problem. So I'm just going to grab these two and then I'm going to pull and you're going to hear it. And then you can just double check to make sure that it's on there. And then obviously if we need to take it back off, there's a red button on each side, just like you would when you hoop it, and you pull it right off. Okay, so now we need to load a logo onto the machine. So what we do is we take our card. I know that the logo I'm looking for is on this particular card. All these cards have little lips on the back, so you know that goes on the back, so that should be facing that way. Slides right in here to this thing right here. It'll pop in. It should hear a beep. If you don't hear a beep, it's not reading it, or maybe it's not fully in. And now that it's here, what we need to do is we need to load the logo on the machine. So we're going to use our logo button here. We're going to get next, because we don't see our memory card. We see our memory card, it's right there. And then what we have to do is we have to find our logo. So this logo I know is located in this folder right here. And here it is. And now that we've here again, we hit this card to machine button, hit enter, and it will load onto the machine. All right, so now we're going to show you how to replace spools of thread. You can see these are getting really low. We don't really want them to run out because it requires an extra thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just pop these off. And then as I put the replacements on, I just take them undone from their spool, put them back in their locations. And then I'm just going to take the two together, wrap it around, pull them up, and just tie a little tiny knot for the other side of things. So we're going to tie this one, and then we'll tie this one. And then we'll pull it through on the other side. All right, so when we're threading on the front side of the machine, if we've had to run, either we've done maintenance or we've had to blow our thread through, it comes out right here, and you can see it's hanging down nice and long. So what I want to do first is I want to trim it a little short because I don't need it quite long at this moment. And then I've got to rethread it all the way through this thing. So I want to take you step by step, rethreading it through that. So the first thing I have to do is I have to come back here and I have to pick up half of this little silver thing, and you'll see there's a little notch inside there. And what I have to do is I have to take my thread and get it inside of that notch. And once it's in the notch, I can close that so it's safe in there. And the next step is I've got to go around this first circle here. So I've come down here, I go to the right of it, I come around again, back through, and now I move down to my second circle. All of my odd circles would be up here. You can see, you can just pay attention to the number. So I'm currently doing number 15, so that is up here. If I was doing an even, I would actually have to come through one of these holes first and then do the evens down here. But since we have an odd, we do our circle first. So we go all the way around it and then around halfway again. We're going to tuck it behind this little piece right here that goes up and down. And then what we'll do is we've got to go through a bunch of little holes on our way down. So the first one is right up here. So we'll take our thread, we'll go right through this hole. It comes down below it. We'll make sure it doesn't get caught on anything on the way down. So that's our first one. Our second one is right here. So we'll take this. We'll go through our second hole right here and all the way down. At this point, you want to make sure that both of these are spinning so you know that you're in the right place. Our third hole is right here. Go down our hole, go straight down. And then right here, we have a little pink thing that we have to go through on the back side and come through on the front side. So what we'll do is we'll come through right here on the back side and pull it through. And then we have to go back up and thread it through this. And what we want to do is go right to left. So when we come back up, we go right to left. We want to grab this here. And then we want to pull it down because now we have to come through a hole on the bottom, the middle of this. So as we come down, we'll go through the silver. And we'll come out of the bottom and come down here. And then we have to get down to our needle itself. So we have a little pull bar here we're going to pull out because we've got to go through a hole in the back of this silver. So as we do that, and make sure we give ourselves some slack, we're going to pull forward. We're going to go down here. You'll see it come out of the bottom. One thing we want to do is make sure it catches. So if it pulls through way too easily, that means it's not actually behind this, which means we need to redo it again. You could also tell if you pulled this and it just comes straight up really easily, it wouldn't be that, but I can feel the tension of it holding it in place. So now what I'll do is I'll pull this back out so I can pull it further down, give myself some slack. I want to tuck behind our little slot back here on the needle. And then since I've got a little too much, I'm going to cut down here without any tension on it. Nice quick cut. And then through the front of the needle, into the back and up. And if I've got a little extra tension here after I've come through the springs, the coil, do a quick little cut, and now we're ready to go. Next, we're going to do our color changes input. So what we do is we take our sew out, it's got our color changes. So here we're going to use our same menu button, and then we need to get to our function list, which is B. It's this boat with the question mark. You hit the function list, which is where our color changes will be, and it brings up this list. Now there are some that you see, it starts at 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, but some of our logos start with 0, 0. In order to get to start on the first stitch, because you see this one starts at 1040, is we scroll up to start and we hold down this middle button until it becomes 0, 0. So what we do is we'll put in our colors. So we have corn silk for the first two, those are number 3. Green is on 8, light blue is on 11, corn silk is on 3, dark green is 8, corn silk is 3, and 3 again, and then our final one is white, which is 15. And if you notice here, you can either go up, you hit these A's and B's to change your numbers. You can either go up to a number, to 15, or since I was already down here at 2, I can also go backwards to 15 as well. And there's only 15 because each head has 15 needles. And then I hit this button again. This is what this is it saves it. So it saves exactly what we wanted to do. So now our color changes are in, our logo's in. We've already made sure that our thread is through. And the next thing we would do is we would check on our orientation. Typically this is a hat logo. So this shows our orientation. This shows that it's going to be top down. But for a hat, what we have to do is we typically have a different hoop. We've got to hit this button here, and then this is our orientation button. So this button allows you to come down here to this RT pattern and change which way depending on how you've hooped the shirt or jacket or whatever it is. In this situation though, since we're putting it on a hat, we actually can scroll up or down, because we'll go back to the beginning and go to 13, and we have a cap frame. So we'd hit the plus and again hit the menu button, and it saves it into place. Now that we have our orientation set, what we want to do is we want to make sure that it's not hitting our hoop, or if we were on a cap, we don't want to hit our cap hoop. So what we'll do is we have got to put it in drive, which is this blinking button here. It shows that this is the needle coming up and down. So as I do this, as you see, it's going to change the green. That way we know it's in drive. Before this, we could hit start and it would not come down. It wouldn't, your fingers would not be any danger, so you can work on the machine without it. At this point though, you hit start, the needle will actually begin to move. So we have that. Here we're going to show when we do to change our speed, to make sure that we have the speed that we want. So when we have a hat hoop, if we push this while it's with a hat, styled for a hat, we hit this and it's going to pull up, and we can adjust our speeds. This caps out at 800 on a hat hoop. We can either go down 10 at a time, or up 10 at a time, or we can go down 50. If we were not on a hat hoop, we'd have to be able to go up higher. We typically run things at 850, and that's where we would sit. So when this hat hoop has been finished and I go switch to a logo that's not a hat, I'd have to adjust the speed up to the appropriate number because it would still be at 800 on the new one. And then what we need to do is we need to check to make sure our heads are on or off depending on how many things we're running. So in this situation, we're only running one. So I've got these little buttons here. Up obviously means on, down is off. So on this first one, we see that it's on. I'm only running one, so I want to come over here and make sure this is off. Make sure this one was on. We want to turn this off. Same thing here, we want to turn this one off. That way our needles aren't coming down and creating any problems. The last thing we want to do to make sure it doesn't hit this hoop, as we said, is when we have it in drive, we have this option here, which is our trace out button. Looks like the little star, and you can see it tracing around the star. What we'll do is we'll hit it, and then we're going to watch our dot, red dot, to make sure it's not coming over our hoop. So we're going to hit that here. So we see right now we've got plenty of space. We're not anywhere near our hoop, because it could cause problems with the machine if the needle comes down on the hoop. So by doing this, we know that we're completely safe. And then after we've done this, if this was an actual order, what we would do is we would take our order and we would double check to make sure that we have done everything we're supposed to do. We have all of our color changes correctly, our orientation and everything. We just double check ourselves to make sure it's all there ready to go. And at that point, we hit start and away it goes.